The world is gradually entering a new technological era, and the most surprising part is that most people still do not even notice it. While the attention of billions is focused on the artificial intelligence race, on chatbots, neural networks, video generation, and synthetic voices, the world's largest corporations have already started a completely different war, far more dangerous, expensive, and massive. This is the race to create the first truly mass-market humanoid robot that will become the physical body for artificial intelligence. In essence, this is the moment when AI stops existing only inside smartphone screens and data centers. It will enter the real world. It will begin walking, talking, looking at people, living beside them, helping them, observing them, and gradually becoming part of everyday life. And according to analysts from Bloomberg, Morgan Stanley, and several insiders from Silicon Valley, this will become the largest market in human history, much larger than the smartphone market, much larger than the automobile market. Because if a smartphone is a device that sits in a person's pocket, then a humanoid robot is literally a digital being that will live alongside humans every single day. Today, several companies are considered leaders in the AI race. OpenAI was the first to massively demonstrate the capabilities of generative artificial intelligence to the world. Google possesses one of the most powerful AI infrastructures on the planet, enormous data centers, and some of the best research laboratories. Tesla is already aggressively developing the humanoid robot Optimus and has vast experience in autonomous systems, batteries, and neural networks. Even Meta is investing billions of dollars into artificial intelligence while attempting to create its own ecosystem of digital assistants. But among all these corporations, there is one company that has unexpectedly started falling behind. A company that for many years was considered the symbol of innovation. A company that transformed the smartphone industry, music, and personal devices. That company is Apple. Just a few years ago, many analysts were convinced that Apple would become one of the leaders of the AI era. The company had money, an enormous audience, a powerful ecosystem of devices, and an incredibly loyal user base. But reality turned out differently. While OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft rapidly developed neural networks, Siri gradually became a symbol of technological lag. Users increasingly complained that Apple's voice assistant worked slowly, poorly understood context, lagged behind competitors, and barely evolved. The emergence of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Grok became an especially painful blow because within just 1 year they showed the world how primitive the old generation voice assistants really looked. And inside Apple itself, according to journalists from The Information and several insiders, genuine panic began. Some employees allegedly openly stated that the company had slept through the AI revolution. And for Apple, this is particularly painful because the company's entire philosophy was always built around the feeling of technological superiority. That is why strange events have been unfolding around Apple in recent months. Reports about internal conflicts, restructuring, and serious management changes are appearing more and more frequently in American media. According to several technology bloggers and analysts, the idea of radically rebooting the company's strategy is being discussed more and more loudly within the board of directors. And although nobody officially talks about it, rumors have been circulating throughout Silicon Valley for several months that the era of Tim Cook is gradually approaching its end. The reason is very simple. For the first time in a long time, Apple has stopped being the company that sets trends. It has started chasing them instead. But the most interesting part is something else entirely. While the whole world discusses Vision Pro, the new iPhone, and the development of Apple Intelligence, inside the company there has allegedly been a project for several years that only a handful of people know about. A project so secretive that even many Apple employees have never heard of it. According to insiders from Asia and component suppliers, Apple is actively experimenting with creating its own humanoid robot. And if the leaks are true, the main goal of this project has nothing to do with factories or industrial work. Apple does not want to create another robot for warehouses, manufacturing, or heavy labor. The company wants to create something completely different. A physical body for Siri, a companion robot, a friend robot, a robot that becomes part of the family. And this is where the most interesting part begins. Most modern humanoid robots are being created as working machines. Tesla Optimus is designed for factories and logistics. Chinese companies like Unitree and Fourier are heavily focused on manufacturing and automation. Even Japanese corporations increasingly talk about robots for elderly care. But according to analysts, Apple is preparing to take a completely different path. The company wants to create an emotional connection between humans and robots. In essence, Apple is trying to repeat the story of the iPhone. Smartphones already existed before, but Apple was the company that made them feel alive and emotionally attractive. And now the company may attempt to do the same thing with humanoid robots. Imagine an ordinary morning somewhere in 2032. Sunlight passes through the windows of a modern home. Music from Apple Music quietly begins playing in the kitchen. An Apple robot slowly approaches the table and places a cup of coffee in front of its owner. It knows when the person wakes up. It knows their habits. It knows what music they enjoy in the morning. It knows how many hours they slept because it is synchronized with Apple Watch. While the person gets ready for work, the robot reminds them about meetings, displays information on the kitchen screen, answers messages, helps children prepare for school, and simultaneously talks with family members like a real assistant. But the most important thing is that it does not look like a cold machine. According to insiders, Apple is placing enormous emphasis specifically on emotional design. The company understands one very simple thing. People do not want to live beside terrifying metallic robots from science fiction movies. They want to see a friendly being that inspires trust. And that is why the design of Apple's future robot, according to analysts, will be as soft as possible, without aggressive lines, without intimidating mechanisms. Most likely, it will receive a white minimalist body in Apple's signature style, smooth movements, soft lighting, and an extremely calm face. Some insiders even claim that the company is testing special microdisplays to imitate emotions. The robot will be able to smile with its eyes, change facial expressions, and adapt its behavior to the owner's mood. And this is where the most dangerous part of the entire story begins. Because once a robot becomes emotional, it stops being just a device. It starts being perceived as a living being. Psychologists are already warning that humanity may not be ready for the emergence of such technologies. Lonely people will begin forming emotional attachments to robots. Children will perceive them as friends. Elderly people may start spending more time with them than with relatives. And Apple probably understands this better than anyone else. After all, Apple was the company that learned how to transform technology into part of human identity. People buy iPhones not only because of their functions. They buy the feeling of belonging to a certain world. And if Apple truly creates the first mass-market emotional humanoid robot, the consequences could become enormous. Imagine a young family buying such a robot. It helps prepare breakfast in the morning. During the day, it watches the house and answers calls. It helps children with homework in the evening. It can tell stories, teach languages, explain mathematics, remind elderly relatives to take medicine, and even maintain conversations. And the intelligence level of such systems will increase literally every month because they will be connected to cloud AI models. The robot will update itself exactly the way an iPhone updates today. But such machines may have an even more powerful effect on lonely people. And according to analysts from Goldman Sachs, this market could become one of the largest in the history of technology. Millions of people live alone. Millions suffer from loneliness. And if a robot can talk, maintain conversations, understand emotions, and physically exist beside a person, many will begin perceiving it as a real companion. Some experts already compare this to the arrival of next-generation digital pets, only on a completely different level. What is also interesting is that Apple already possesses an almost perfect ecosystem for such a device. The company already controls smartphones, watches, headphones, tablets, laptops, and smart home systems. The robot could become the central element of this entire ecosystem. It would be connected to the iPhone, HomePod, Apple TV, Vision Pro, and Apple Intelligence. In essence, Apple could transform a user's home into a unified intelligent environment where the robot becomes the main interface between humans and artificial intelligence. Some insiders even claim that Apple is considering the creation of a special subscription service for the robot. In other words, users could pay monthly for expanded AI capabilities, and this fully aligns with the company's modern strategy, which increasingly focuses on generating revenue through services. Imagine a situation where the basic version of the robot can help around the house and maintain conversations, while a premium subscription unlocks advanced AI, personalized learning, additional functions, and deeper integration with the Apple ecosystem. And the most surprising thing is that all of this sounds like science fiction only at first glance, because the technologies required to create such machines already exist. Artificial intelligence is developing at an insane speed. Robotics is becoming cheaper. Batteries are becoming more powerful. Cameras, sensors, and processors are shrinking in size. And most importantly, humanity is already being psychologically prepared for life alongside robots. Social media, movies, advertising, and technology companies themselves are gradually making the image of a humanoid assistant seem normal. According to Morgan Stanley estimates, the humanoid robot market could be worth tens of trillions of dollars by 2040. Some analysts even believe robots will become humanity's new smartphone, and that is exactly why a massive hidden race between technology corporations is beginning right now. Because the winner will gain more than profit. The winner will gain control over the next platform of the future. Inside Silicon Valley, one idea is being repeated more and more often. Smartphones are gradually reaching their limit. People no longer replace their phones as frequently as before. The market is saturated. The true next step is physical AI, a machine capable of seeing, hearing, walking, and interacting with the world. And if Apple truly manages to enter this race in time, the company could unexpectedly return to the top once again. Analysts also point out another important characteristic of Apple. The company almost never enters a market first. It prefers arriving later, studying competitors' mistakes, and releasing a product that feels more refined and convenient. That happened with the iPhone. That happened with the Apple Watch. And the same thing may happen with robots. While Tesla demonstrates robots designed for factories, Apple could focus on a completely different category, the domestic humanoid assistant. That is why many experts believe Apple's potential robot will look not like an industrial mechanism, but like a premium consumer product. Minimalist design, flawless materials, incredibly smooth movements, and maximum emphasis on friendliness. According to rumors, the company is even testing special silent motors, so the robot does not create discomfort inside the home. In addition, Apple is reportedly developing adaptive behavior technologies. The robot would be capable of analyzing the owner's habits and gradually adapting itself to them. Imagine a person returning home after a difficult day. The robot notices exhaustion through the person's voice and facial expression. It automatically dims the lights, turns on calming music, reminds the owner about important tasks, and suggests dinner. For some people, this will look like an incredible technological breakthrough, and for others, like the beginning of a new dependence of humanity on machines. And this is where expert opinions sharply diverge. Some believe that such technologies will help humanity. Robots will be able to care for elderly people, assist people with disabilities, reduce loneliness, and take over routine tasks. Others warn that humanity risks losing part of its social connections. Because if a robot becomes the perfect conversational partner who never argues, never gets tired, and always supports its owner, many people may begin preferring machines to real human interaction. This topic is discussed especially intensely in Japan and South Korea, where loneliness has long been considered a national crisis. And that is exactly why analysts believe Asia could become the first massive market for domestic humanoid robots. And Apple has traditionally been especially strong in the premium segment of the Asian market. What is also interesting is that some insiders claim that inside Apple, the robot project is being viewed as a new iPhone moment. In other words, as a device capable of opening an entirely new category of technology. According to rumors, the company is already negotiating with component suppliers to create ultralight materials, new sensors, and advanced power systems. And some engineers from the Apple Car project were allegedly transferred specifically into the robotics division after the automotive program was shut down. And if this is true, it becomes clear why Apple suddenly began talking so actively about artificial intelligence. Because AI without a physical body is only half of the future. The real revolution will begin when artificial intelligence can physically exist beside humans. Imagine a child growing up together with such a robot. The robot helps them study, knows their interests, answers questions, plays with them, and literally becomes part of their upbringing. Or an elderly person who no longer feels lonely because an attentive assistant is always nearby. Or a young couple using a robot as part of everyday life. All of this sounds like scenes from a science fiction movie, but the technology industry is already moving exactly in this direction. According to some analysts, the first limited versions of such devices could appear as early as the beginning of the 2030s, and they will most likely be incredibly expensive. The first generation of Apple robots could receive a price tag between $20,000 and $30,000, but the history of technology shows that once production becomes mass scale, prices begin falling rapidly. Televisions, smartphones, computers, all of these were once luxuries, and now they have become an ordinary part of life. That is why many investors are already calling humanoid robots the next great market of humanity. Some Silicon Valley funds are literally hunting for robotics startups. Billions of dollars are being poured into the development of actuators, batteries, sensors, and artificial intelligence systems. While ordinary people continue discussing new smartphone features, the world's largest corporations are preparing for a completely different era. An era where artificial intelligence will no longer remain just a voice inside a phone. It will receive a body. And perhaps one morning, millions of people will wake up and find an Apple humanoid robot standing beside them in the kitchen, quietly saying, "Good morning, I've already made the coffee." The deeper analysts begin studying the possible future of such technologies. The stronger the feeling becomes that humanity is standing on the edge of an event that will change not only the electronics market, but the very structure of society itself. Because for the first time in history, what may appear beside humans is not just a tool, but an artificial personality inside a physical body. And this is exactly what is causing both excitement and anxiety inside the world's largest governments. According to several American publications, closed discussions are already taking place in Washington about how future humanoid robots should be regulated. The issue is not only about data security or hacking. The main question is something else entirely: how deeply AI will be able to penetrate a person's private life. Because if a robot remains inside a home 24 hours a day, it literally sees everything. It knows how the family lives, what conversations happen inside the house, what habits the owners have, what fears, problems, and weaknesses they possess. And if such technologies end up in the hands of the world's largest corporations, the level of control over human life could become unprecedented. That is why Apple, according to insiders, is supposedly placing enormous emphasis on the privacy of its future robot. The company perfectly understands that trust will become the key factor. If people become afraid, the market could collapse before mass sales even begin. That is why Apple is allegedly testing special local AI systems capable of processing part of the information directly inside the robot without constantly sending data to the cloud. This resembles Apple's current Apple Intelligence strategy, where the company is already actively promoting the concept of private AI. If Apple truly manages to convince people that its robot is safer than competitors, this could become a gigantic advantage against Google, OpenAI, and Chinese companies. But there is another aspect that almost nobody is talking about right now. Many experts believe that humanoid robots will completely transform the labor market not instantly, but gradually and almost imperceptibly. At first, people will view them as expensive toys for wealthy families, then as domestic assistants. After that, robots will begin working in hotels, stores, clinics, and offices. And a few years later, it will suddenly become clear that a huge number of professions are simply disappearing. And although Apple is trying to position its future robot as a family companion, analysts understand that once the technology becomes advanced enough, it will inevitably expand far beyond household tasks. Imagine an elite restaurant of the future. Guests are greeted by a perfectly polite humanoid robot designed in Apple's style. It knows the customer's name before they even enter the hall. It remembers their favorite dishes. It can hold a conversation. It never makes mistakes, never gets tired, never demands a salary in the traditional sense. And most importantly, It looks so natural that people gradually stop perceiving it as a machine. This is exactly the moment sociologists fear the most, because once society emotionally accepts robots, the further spread of the technology becomes almost impossible to stop. Experts are especially alarmed by the speed of AI development. Just 3 years ago, most neural networks could barely maintain a normal long conversation. Today, they are already capable of analyzing emotions, generating videos, writing code, and learning new tasks within minutes. And now imagine that in a few years, such intelligence ends up inside a physical body. The robot will not only be able to speak, but also look people in the eyes, move beside them, help them, and constantly learn through interaction with the surrounding world. In essence, humanity is creating a new form of digital life. It is also interesting that Apple itself could turn the launch of such a robot into the biggest technological event of the decade. Analysts are already imagining what it might look like. A massive stage in the signature minimalist style of Apple Park. Thousands of journalists. Soft lighting. On the screen appears the phrase, "The future has a body." And then the first Apple humanoid robot slowly walks onto the stage. Not aggressive and not frightening, but as calm, friendly, and almost alive as possible. It smiles, greets the audience, and begins speaking with the company's new CEO. And at that moment, the world realizes that the era of science fiction is over, because after such a presentation show, the other companies will be forced to respond. Tesla will accelerate Optimus. Google will begin integrating Gemini into its own robotics platforms. OpenAI will attempt to cooperate with humanoid manufacturers. Chinese corporations will increase funding for their projects. And the entire planet will effectively enter a new technological race, the race for physical AI. And the stakes in this race are far higher than they were during the smartphone era. The winner will be able to control not just a person's device, but their everyday life. And the most surprising thing is that all of this may happen much faster than most people expect. The history of technology shows that first a revolution seems impossible, then strange, then like an expensive toy for the rich, and after that it becomes normal for billions of people. That is what happened with the internet. That is what happened with smartphones. That is what happened with social networks. And now humanity may be only a few steps away from the emergence of a new form of coexistence between humans and artificial intelligence. The only question is, who will be the first to make such a robot truly mass market? And if the rumors about Apple's project are even partially true, then the company that many people have already started to write off in the AI race may one day unexpectedly return and once again change the world.